Alright, so I decided to make this video today to highlight the methods which I used to build my current physique, which is by far and away the best physique that I've ever managed to build. So to give you all a bit of context, in January of 2025, I had been out of the gym for approximately 6 months. I stepped on the scales, I weighed 90 kilos, I looked in the mirror, I was flabby, I had a gut, I had love handles, and I didn't like what I saw. My diet was appalling. I was eating a lot of takeaways, junk food, chocolate, way too many carbs, all of that type of stuff. And long story short, I decided to do something about it. So the first thing that I decided to do was to switch my diet up, and I adopted a strict carnivore diet, which consisted of meat, eggs, poultry, organ meat, fish, and a scoopful of creatine every morning. Now, the reason I chose the carnivore diet is because it's a very efficient way of getting your body into ketosis. So ketosis is basically the process of eliminating carbohydrates from your diet so that your body will burn off its fat reserves rather than its glycogen reserves. Getting into ketosis is a very healthy way to lose weight. Once you're in it, the weight will fall off you quite quickly, but you're not having to starve yourself in order to get that weight to fall off. Now, the one downside to going on the carnivore diet, bear in mind this is the first time I'd ever tried a diet like this, you get something called the keto flu, which is, the best way I can equate it is withdrawing from drugs. You get some serious sugar cravings, at least I did anyway, and all I could think about was chocolate the entire time I was in it. It lasted for about 2 days, and my energy was very low. I felt quite moody, and it wasn't pleasant. But it only lasted a couple of days, and then my body had adjusted, and after that, honestly, I can say nothing negative about the carnivore diet. My energy was very stable the entire time I was on it. I had no spikes and crashes the way you do when you eat carbohydrates. My mental clarity felt better. My strength went up in the gym, so everything was positive aside from the keto flu. So my goal going back to the gym was to be lean year round, to build the most aesthetic physique that I'd ever built, and to build some real world functional strength. And this meant doing everything raw. No straps, no belts, and a heavy focus on compound lifts. My exact training methods weren't planned from the start. There was a lot of trial and error. But the core philosophy was always the same, which was, I believe that the body is one organism, and if one part of that chain is weaker than the others, then it weakens the entire system. So an example of that is if you've got really strong legs, you've got a really strong back, you've got a really strong core, and it's capable of deadlifting a lot of weight, but because you're using straps, your grip is not keeping up with the rest of your body. So while the rest of your body might be able to deadlift 200 kilos, your grip is incapable of holding that weight. So in my opinion, and a lot of guys who use straps aren't going to like it when I say it, you can't really pick up that weight because your grip isn't strong enough to do it without the assistance of straps. So that is why I do all of my lifts raw. I don't use any belts and I don't use any straps. Nothing at all to support. If my body can't support the weight, then it's not strong enough to do that weight, and I need to keep grinding and keep building until I can lift that weight. Another rule that I strictly abide by is no ego lifting and no chasing 1 rep maxes, purely because it risks the chance of injury, and I don't think that it's a very efficient way to train. My focus when I'm lifting is on controlling the weight. I feel that if you're chasing 1 rep maxes and you're trying to grind out ugly reps chasing a number, you're not really controlling the weight. The weight is pulling you around the place, and as I said, you're just increasing your chance of injury. So when I'm doing a rep, whether it's a squat or a bench press or whatever, the negative side of the rep is always deliberate and controlled. One thing that you'll find training in this manner without straps and belts and trying to jump up the weights very quick is that the progress is slower, but in my opinion, the benefits are far better. I feel that you're building much more functional strength, you're increasing the durability of your muscles, and the entire body is growing strong together without any glaring weaknesses. So I focus on 6 primary compound lifts, and they are the squat, bench press, deadlift, incline bench press, barbell rows, and weighted pull-ups. The reason for this is because these lifts train multiple muscle groups at once and builds the whole body's overall strength. I split these lifts into 2 sessions, heavy sessions and volume sessions, and I alternate between each weekly. An example of this is my squat days. So currently I'm lifting 150 kilos on a heavy day, 4 sets, 3 reps per set. And I won't move up until I manage to hit 5 reps for all 4 sets. And once I've done that 3 times consecutively, that's when I feel that I can control that weight, my body's used to that weight, and it's ready to move up to whatever I go to next, whether it's 155 or 160. And the same principle applies to a volume day. So on my volume day, I'm lifting 130 kilos, and I'm currently doing 6 reps across 4 sets. And I won't increase that weight until I can hit 8 reps across 4 sets. Same principle again, 3 times consecutively. The reason I do this, as I stated before, is because I want complete control over that weight. I want my body to adapt to having that kind of weight on my back, and it lessens the risk of injury. And I think it also gives the tendons and the joints a chance to adapt to that kind of weight. I think a big mistake a lot of people make is they jump up weights too fast before they've really mastered the previous weight. You know, people are dying to get up into those high numbers and be seen lifting these crazy weights, and it's just not worth the risk. It's better to train smart and build gradually. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So something else which I do, which is very beneficial if you're doing this raw style of training, is an extra session just dedicated to grip strength. So what I'll do, I hang my pull-up bar above my door and simply hang off it for as long as possible. Once I can't hold on any longer, jump down, take a minute's break, jump up again, hang for as long as possible, and I repeat this 3 times. And this has really helped my grip strength come up. I was plateaued for a while on deadlift because my grip was failing. Once I started incorporating this extra day, I don't have that issue anymore. So this is very beneficial if anybody decides to try this style of training. So aside from the 6 compound lifts, which are the meat and bones of my training system, I also do accessory work, the likes of hack squats, bicep curls, lateral raises, etc., lat pull downs, all those other extra lifts. And I approach these much more simply. I do 3 sets by 8 reps. Once I can hit 24 reps across 3 sets, 3 times consecutively, that's when I move up the weight. Now, this accessory work is important because it supports the main lifts. You know, it helps detail the body, it can enhance your look, but it's not as important as the compound lifts, so I avoid overcomplicating it. So in regards to cardio, I usually do 1 good session every 10 days to every 2 weeks, and the reason for this is just I'm very weight focused at the minute, but I don't want to completely neglect my cardiovascular health. So what I'll usually do is 1 intense heavy bag session, as I said, every 10 days to every couple of weeks. Now, the reason I use the heavy bag, very simple. I used to box as a teenager. I boxed in my early 20s and my late 20s. And having done a lot of boxing, I would have also had to have done a lot of running. And quite frankly, I hate running. I don't like cardio work in general. But I do enjoy hitting the bag. It's a good release of stress. And it's a very good workout. So I find doing 5 rounds on the bag more beneficial than going for a run. And I enjoy it. So that's my cardio in a nutshell. Okay, so this next part is very important, and that is in regards to the frequency with which I train. So I would train 3 times a week, and I would train very intense throughout those 3 sessions. I always train one day on, and then I take a day off before I go back. If I've done legs, which is by far the most taxing day that I do, I usually take 2 days off before I go back. These sessions usually only last from 45 minutes to 1 hour, and I only ever really push to failure on volume days. I find heavy days are more about controlling a heavy load, and obviously something can go very wrong if you're squatting a lot of weight. So I find on my volume days I really push myself to failure, whereas on heavy days I will leave a rep in reserve. Now, the reason I don't train more is I feel that it's more beneficial that when you're in the gym to train very intensely, to train very hard, and then to allow your body to recover before you go back in punishing it anymore. And I'm somebody who's suffered some pretty bad injuries in my time. I've had a damaged rotator cuff. I've had bad knees. I've had a bad back. And I just feel that recovery is vital. I'm in my 30s now. Just not old, obviously, but, I know myself I can't train with the same frequency as what I used to be able to in my 20s. So it's all about being smart and giving the body a good chance to recover after an intense session. So the final thing that I want to touch on is the supplements that I take. And the only supplement which I take is creatine. I don't take any protein powders. I don't take any of the tablets you can get. I don't take any steroids, and I've no intention of ever using any steroids. The great thing about the carnivore diet is that you get a lot of energy from the fat that you consume, and your muscles also recover very well because you're eating so much protein every day. So in regards to steroids, at the end of the day, if people want to take them, that's your choice. I don't care. Whatever people want to do with their own bodies or whatever they want to put into their own bodies, completely their business, nothing to do with me. What I will say is that for me personally, I don't want to destroy my health for the sake of having bigger biceps and a bigger chest. I want to still be going to the gym in 10, 20 or 30 years time from now, and I still want to feel healthy. I still want to be able to go in there and lift some good weights, and I think that if you take steroids when you're young, yeah, you're going to look good in the short term, you're going to be strong, you're going to see some great gains that you never would have been able to make naturally. But it's exactly that, it's a short-term game, and all these fitness influencers, these Instagram types who are telling you that you're weak if you're doing it naturally because you can't bench press 3 plates and whatnot, odds are they're going to be in very poor health by the time they're 50 years of age. So I would implore anybody who is listening to this and is considering jumping on steroids, take the natural path, because it's a slower process, it's a tougher grind, but it's very rewarding when you see results and you're like, you know what, I've got a good physique there and I've worked damn hard to get it. I didn't take any shortcuts. I've grinded and I've done it the pure and honest route. So that's my opinion on steroids. If you want to take them, your business, but I think in the long term, most people regret having taken them. So I'll finish by saying this. The best part of this journey so far, without being cringe and trying to be all inspirational and whatnot, but the best part of this journey so far for me has been the discipline that I've built over the past 14 months. I haven't missed any weeks in the gym at all. I've been very consistent. And it's very satisfying knowing that I've done this the hard way, that I didn't take any shortcuts. And I'm certainly no fitness influencer. And I'm sure there's lots of channels out there which will give you better advice than me in regards to weight training and resistance training and health and fitness and whatnot. But I'm just sharing what has worked for me so far. And yeah, that's all I've got to say. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you made it to the end, thanks for staying. And I hope you gained something from listening to this. So till next time, take care.